So do we want to look at that definition and say, okay, if we're one or the other, if we are in that second frame where we tend to be the world's doom and gloom, not that it's good or bad, it's just a perspective, Davo, what would be an approach, what would be a way of trying to change that?
Well, that comes into drivers.
Perfect.
All right, so you know, a driver is what takes the informing principle into action. So it's what takes ideation into action. And if you're driven by a sense of wanting to do the right thing, if you're driven by a sense of wanting to help, you know, if you're driven by wanting to be fulfilled and have lots of money, you know, there's a whole different range of things out there. To change a negative ideation generally requires some sort of a driver that draws from the positive. And it needs to be stepped back upon, or a mentor approaching you and asking the right questions of, do you consider the rationale behind what you're doing to be effective for you at the moment? You know, so if my driver becomes doing the best for people around me without any attachment to the consequence for myself, and believing that the person will, in their utmost ability, give their best as well, and I go in with that mindset, I tend to use my knowledge a little bit differently. Now I'll approach the person not as a threat, but as a confidant. You know, someone not as a danger, someone as a community that I work with. I'm now part of something. I'm part of a bigger picture. We're no longer split. You know, we're together.
There's no judgment from them to us. It's actually we're all part of this same equation, but where you might have been the positive, they might have been the negative, which equals the summation of whatever. Now it's actually, no, we're actually going to be the same.
Yeah, so it's changing the driver, so changing the standpoint. It's like changing the plan when you're in a sport. Listen, this is what we're going for today. You know, you're in a sport like basketball, we're going to move to the basket in this way and set it up in this way. Now we've all got the skills, we can all pass, we can all shoot and so on. We're doing it this way, so now it colours the way that we do it. So if that you know, wonderful reflective standpoint from someone in a position of influence over you now gives you a slightly different game plan, you can now go from the outside and say, I could execute that. You don't necessarily need to be shown how, it's just execute it along these lines. Use the skills you've already got, and it really doesn't take a great shift except for the motive in the background.